You know that moment when a client asks you to change something around the 5-minute mark and then you spend the next 20 minutes searching for it? That happens because you gave them nothing to point at. One Resolve feature fixes this in seconds and almost nobody opens it. It is one of 6. These are the tools that handle the boring half of the job: the finding, the handing off, the archiving, the part nobody makes tutorials about. Each one replaces something you are still doing by hand. Let's take a look. Open the workspace menu and click Data Burn-in. This window writes information straight onto the picture. Timecode, clip name, file path, your own text, even a logo. It is not a title and it is not a new layer on your timeline. Resolve draws it on top of everything and you switch it off with one click when you are done. Turn on Burn-in fields, click Add and choose Record TC from the list on the left. That is your timeline timecode running on the bottom of the picture. Now every note your client sets comes back as a number instead of a guess. The overlay controls on the right handles how it looks: size, color, opacity, placement, and everything you need. Save the setup in the 3-dot menu so you are not rebuilding it on the next job. One thing before you send anything: timecode goes on review files, never on the master. The burn-in is not attached to the timeline, so it does not disappear when you render. Go to the Deliver page and open Advanced Settings. There is a drop-down called Data Burn-in, set to same as project on every new project, which means the burn-in you built for review file is still on the master and the version that goes on their website. Set it to none the moment review is over. Or even better, build 2 render presets and stop relying on memory. Open the File menu and click Project Notes. It is a big blank text box attached to your project. That is the entire feature. What makes it useful is where it sits. Notes in your head disappear. Notes in an email get buried under a dozen unrelated messages. Notes here open with the project on any machine for anyone connected to the same project library. So whoever opens this project next reads them without you sending anything, including you. Write the things that apply to the whole job. Type, close the window and it stays. But this is for the whole job. For a specific moment you drop a marker and write the note there, which works until the timeline runs 40 minutes and you cannot find the marker you left yourself, which is where the index comes in. Open the Edit page and click Index in the top left. 3 tabs: Edit Index, Tracks and Markers. I use it in 2 ways. The first is YouTube timestamps. I drop a marker wherever a new chapter should start, open the Edit Index tab, filter for markers and export list as CSV. A minute of cleanup or a quick handoff to my robot friend and it comes back in YouTube format. The whole thing takes less time than writing the timecodes down by hand, but I got tired of even that, which I will come back to in a minute. The second is what the panel was built for. Open the Edit Index on the long timeline and you get a spreadsheet of the entire cut. Clip name, track source and record timecode, duration, comments. Click any line and the playhead jumps to it. The useful part is the filter. Show only offline clips and you have your relink list. Show only clips with a red marker and you have every shot that still needs work, you get the idea. Instead of searching a 40-minute timeline, you work down a list. If you cut anything long form, that filter is the reason to open this panel. Now open the File menu and click Media Management. This is how a finished project leaves your drive, not copying files in folders and hoping you got everything. Select timelines, pick the ones you need and choose Copy. Point it at the destination and look at the size at the bottom of the window. That number is everything you are about to copy and it is bigger than it needs to be. An hour-long interview that gave you 1 minute still copies as a full hour. Switch to Used Media and Trim and watch the number drop. Now it copies what the timeline actually uses. Trim adds a handle on each side so you can still adjust and edit later. The default follows your timeline frame rate, so it's about a second. Fine for a straight cut. For anything with transitions, I put it to 3 or 5 seconds and it costs almost nothing. Hit start and you get a folder with a media and a DRT file for every timeline. That DRT is the part people miss. Open a new project, go to File, Import, Timeline and load it. Every timeline comes back, relinked on any machine. That is the difference between a folder of files and a project you can actually reopen in years. Open the Workspace menu and click Scripts. This is where Resolve runs code that does your clicking for you. Renaming clips in bulk, building timelines from a folder, queuing 100 renders, anything you would do the same way 50 times, a script does once. And you do not need to be a developer for this to work. There are plenty of these floating around the community and I have one for you to test. Remember the timestamps I exported from the index earlier? I got tired of doing that by hand, so I had one built. You drop your markers, name them as you go, click the script, and it writes the finished YouTube chapter list to your desktop. Timecodes converted, first chapter handled, nothing to clean up. It is free, the link is in the description, and it is one file you drop into a folder. On Mac it goes here, on Windows the same path inside App Data folder. Restart Resolve and it shows up in this menu. Last one, and this one needs studio version. DCTL stands for DaVinci Color Transform Language. Most people know it as a file they were told to drop into the LUT folder and never find out what it actually is. A LUT is a table of numbers. Someone ran the math once, sampled the results and saved them. Your image gets matched to the nearest values on the table. A DCTL is the math itself. It runs on your GPU on every frame at full precision, and it never has to guess between two sampled points, which is why a DCTL can do things a LUT structurally cannot. It can have controls, sliders, checkboxes, dropdowns, sitting in the node like any other effect. And there are some great ones out there, free and paid. Lock to display transforms, hue shifting tools, film emulations. I built one myself, a DCTL called Nailer, that reads the image and helps you balance the shot or nail your skin tones. Installing is the same as LUT. Drop the file in the LUT folder, restart Resolve, then drop a DCTL from the effects panel on your node and choose the one you just installed. The drop-down inside picks which one you are running. If you are serious about color grading, this one is really worth checking out. And that's it. Tell me in the comments which of the 6 you had never opened. And if you want to see how I balance my shots using Nailer DCTL, check this next video.